external environment as being one of the core aspects of strategic management. All right. I remember lecture 1, we ended that lecture by looking at some theories that have implications for strategic management. And we saw that we had a theory known as industrial organization view that argued that the external environment or the industry was a key factor that could influence the performance of a business organization. Okay, and then the resource-based theory was important for the internal environment. Resource-based theory argued that the internal environment was important in determining the performance of a business organization. All right. So this morning, I'm going to look at the external environment. So the learning objectives, we're looking at the PESTEL framework, the PESTEL process, black swans and structural breaks, industry life cycle, the 5 competitive forces, hyper competition, and strategic fit. Okay. So as I indicated, the external environment is very important, and it consists of conditions outside the organization, especially those that influence the intensity of competition. It is also important that you know about the environment outside of your business organization, okay? So that you find measures to be able to deal with them, because whether you like it or not, they have a way of influencing the extent to which your business will perform. And the PESTEL framework tries to draw the attention of management of organizations to the following, or the strategists in organizations to the various following variables. That it's important to know about the political trends in the country or the economy or geographical area within which you're operating, the political trends. So the PESTEL is actually an acronym for these variables that we're looking at. It is also important to know about the economic environment or the economic trends in the market within which you are operating. Social trends, technological trends, environmental trends, and legal trends. It is very, very important that you keep abreast of these variables because they have a way of influencing how your business performs. Okay, so the first one we're going to look at is the political trends. That competition in many areas is shaped by government policies and regulatory decisions. Okay, so it's very, very important that you pay attention to the political environment within which you're operating, because most of your decisions and operations will be influenced by government policies and regulatory decisions. Okay, if you don't know about the focus or the interest of the government of the day, it has the tendency of influencing the policies they will make, and also how that will in turn influence how your business will operate. Okay. Generally in Ghana, it was said that the MPP party was more of capitalist party, and NDC should have been more of socialist party. Okay. Generally, it is deemed that the capitalists will have created an atmosphere that businesses will thrive and do well, and the socialists where they think government should be in charge of everything of supporting businesses. All right. But of late, it is very difficult to tell which one is actually helping the private sector more, whether it's NDC that should have been socialist or the NDC, MPP that claim to be the capitalist. But I'm just bringing this on board for you to know that depending upon the form of government that is in place, that has an influence on the policies or the laws that the government will bring on board, and therefore how a business. Okay. Then if we take the categorization to a bigger umbrella, whether you are under a civilian government or military government, then it becomes more impactful to pay attention to these differences. So civilian governments through constitutions, 1, establish a rule of law that checks the arbitrary use of state coercive power. Okay, so if you're operating a business, I think you want to be mindful of the fact that situating your business in a country where civilians govern or there is democracy, it will help you because it will prevent arbitrary use of state coercive power to confiscate your property and things of that nature. So you want to pay attention to that. What comes to mind is Zimbabwe during the era of Mugabe, where white farms and white farmers' lands and their farms were confiscated and all that. That wasn't even a military regime, but even with a civilian government, those confiscations occurred. So if you're in business, you want to pay attention to the environment within which you are operating, because governments can set up or come up with any policy that can cause you to lose your assets and property. All right. The other thing we note about civilian government is that they tend to guarantee business representation in state business relations and institutional arrangements such as laws and acts of parliament. So there is a buy-in from the private sector. If you're dealing with a civilian government, they will want the input of business associations and so on and so forth before coming with laws and coming with acts. Then the last attribute or characteristic of civilian government is that they tend to protect businesses and individual rights of association and property. Okay, so because they tend to go by rule of law in the Constitution, and the civilian government, there is some protection of human rights, the right to own your property, the right of association, and all that. Please, if you just join, can you mute your mic? You're getting feedback from somebody who just joined. Okay. So they tend to protect, because they operate by rule of law and by constitution, they protect and advance human rights of businesses and individuals. Okay, so these attributes are important. That's why in recent times, the finance minister's decision to even seek the opinion of the Attorney General, whether they can compulsorily cause bondholders to come and sign off their bonds. It's not the mark of good governance as far as democracy is concerned. Under democracy, you cannot confiscate the property of people. And those investments are investments of individuals. And so just even going to seek for an opinion should send a signal to investors that this is not a government that really is after projecting and protecting human rights of individuals and whatever, and businesses. Okay. But one of the attributes of a civilian government is to protect businesses and individual rights. You can't just take, because there's economic hardship, confiscate the investments of people at your own whims and caprices. Okay. But military governments normally jettison the constitution and rule by degrees, which do not necessarily include the interests and views of the business community. Okay, so all these are within the context of the political trends. If you're in business, pay attention whether the nation continually will be ruled through democracy and through rule of law, or there is the tendency for military takeover. If that is the case, the constitution will be thrown away and you cannot be guaranteed that your interests will be protected. I just gave you instances where even within civilian rule, the case of Zimbabwe and Ghana, which even though now it's voluntary, but for me, even just going to the Attorney General to seek an advice whether you can, compulsorily take the monies of individual citizens is something that should not have happened at all. Okay, in a democracy and a country that goes by rule of law. The other trend that we need to pay attention to in the external environment is the economic trends, all right? So the economics will influence so many things about your business. How much you can produce, because that will affect the cost of resources, inputs that you'll be using for production. Not just the raw materials or resource use. It will increase the price of money itself. If you go for loans and there is high inflation, that will lead to high interest rates, and that will increase your cost of production. Invariably, your prices will go up. And we know from basics economics that when prices goes up, it influences the demand for those products and services. All right. So knowing the trends in the economy is very, very key for any strategist in a business. So it's important to know these variables: resource use and prices, interest rates, disposable income, economic growth, inflation, and productivity. Much particularly, and they are kind of related. Most of the time, if inflation is high, all things being equal, it means that interest rates will go up, but they have negative impact on disposable income. And once people don't have income to spend, what it means is that businesses will suffer because the demand for their products and services will diminish. So as part of strategy, you want to be mindful of the terrain in terms of the economic environment within which you operate. Okay. If you have paid attention to Kennedy Agyapong, one of his complaints was how exchange rate escalated somewhere November, December last year, and how that impacted on his business and so on and so forth. Okay, so these things are real. If you're into business, they influence the way you can operate. And it's important that we pay attention to them. Okay. The next trend we want to pay attention to is social trends. And this includes one, demographic, social, and lifestyle trends. Very important. Depending upon the type of business that you are doing, it's important to know the demographics. If you're dealing with more of children products or services, you want to know about the population census. How many children are we having now? Are people giving birth more? Are they taking more of birth controls, and therefore the babies are no longer coming, and so on and so forth? Okay. Lifestyles. You need to know. If you're into fashion, know about the trends now. What is happening? Are people interested in newer fashions, or they are going back to old fashions, and so on and so forth? These things are very important for a strategist to know. Okay. Group identities and gender roles is becoming very, very important in the areas of human rights and laws. Even though within our context, we don't still accept this LGBTQ plus kind of stuff. But in other jurisdictions, if you are a manager of a business, you want to pay attention to these guys, okay? Because they have laws such that if we were to flout those laws, discriminate against them, they have rights that they can pursue. So gender, group identities and gender roles are becoming very, very important. Elsewhere in some countries, you can have about 18 different types of gender. Okay, and gender is different from sex. Sex is biological, as we know it, male and female. But with gender roles, some female can get up and say, I feel like a man, and they have a name for that. Some man can get up one day and says, I feel like I should have been a woman, therefore I'm a woman. Okay, and so many ways. So gender is defined by societal. But sex is natural or biological. And so if you are a strategist, pay attention to group identities and gender roles in order to avoid discrimination, in order to improve inclusiveness, and also creativity and all the benefits that come with having diversity in your business organization. All right. The national cultures also Very, very important. You don't just go into a country without a proper understanding of the culture of that particular country. All right. Even recently, I think somebody was advising the mining companies, I believe so, to appreciate the culture of whichever community within which they are operating in order to be able to survive. Some of the attacks that goes on is because they lack an appreciation of the culture of the community within which they are operating. But it goes beyond mining. It goes to the types of products that you can sell, the colors that you should be choosing, the taste of the particular product will all be affected by the culture of the people. All right. So Indians don't eat beef. Are we aware of that? India. Okay. So meanwhile, they have a lot of cattle there, but somehow the animals are seen as sacred beings. Okay, they are spiritual. They are almost like gods that accept. So if you were to be producing something in Ghana and you felt that India has a larger market for meat and you were to export your beef there, you'll not be able to make any sales. Unless, of course, they don't get to know about it. All right. The taste. The Asian countries like a lot of spices. Okay. So the way your food will, assuming it's an international business, the nature of the taste of the whatever food that you are selling, to say Ghana might be different from the nature and the taste of the food that you'll be selling in, say, China or India or most of the Asian countries. So it's very, very, very important to appreciate and understand national cultures. It's part of the external environment that we have to know in order to succeed in business. Okay. Then the last one, you need to pay attention to ethics, morality, and expectations. Very similar to culture. All right. Because it has a way of influencing your reputation and the trust that the people have in your business. If they have things that they consider to be moral and you come to be doing the opposite of that, you can lose their trust. Okay. So it is important for you to know that. And losing their trust also means that you may lose some customer loyalty. Once they feel you are not operating according to ethics, their morality and expectations, they will not buy from your company. All right. Sometimes some of the ethical issues may have some leaning with the laws and regulations of the country, such that if you don't behave well, you may also be breaching the laws of the particular country within which you're operating. So the ethics, morality, and expectations are things that strategists need to pay attention to because they have a way of influencing the performance of your organization. Now move to the technological trends. Okay, it is important to know the technology of your industry, right? Also, I was explaining, if you lag behind in some industries in terms of the technology, the chances of you catching up is very rare. Okay, if you pick the mobile phones industry, they are continually advancing. iPhones, almost every 6 months, maximum 1 year, new versions are coming up. Okay, and they are able to do that because of the type of technological improvement that occurs in this country. So you need to know your industry, the level of technological advancement that is happening in the industry in order to be able to be successful in those particular industries. So the impact of new and developing technological change, or how it has impact on resources, organizational behavior, the products and services, and the operations of the business organization. So it's important to note the technological trends in your industry. All right. So before, I think I'll discuss that much later, but before we get there, you can see that in time past, if you were even schooling online, our perception then was that your certificates or whatever you were doing wasn't too credible compared to face-to-face then. All right. But with advancement in technology, I mean, it's almost a mandatory requirement that even for regular students, some aspects of the teaching should be done online so that they'll get to know how to use these IT techniques to be able to communicate. Because if you complete and you go to the workplace, there are meetings that will by almost be held, and your IT skills will be called upon. Okay, so you need to know, even in education, using technology to deliver lectures and so on and so forth is something that we've now embraced. Okay. Then the prevalence of smartphones and price scanning applications. Very, very important to note this because it has implications or impact on businesses. One is the fact that there is now increased price transparency. In time past, if you're charging or pricing your products anyway, nobody really gets to know whether they are fair prices or not. But now people, whilst they are at your shop, they are also online checking the prices from other companies, whether whatever you have in your brick and mortar store makes sense based on the price that they are seeing online. So that is the kind of impact it will have on your business. So if price competition becomes keener, if you don't pay attention to these things, you may be pricing your products in a way that is not realistic because your consumers are able, or customers are able to check your prices with others as well. All right. So generally, consumers are empowered through these smartphones. They can check prices, they can check quality. So many things can be checked before they make their purchasing decisions. And so you need to know how the prevalence of smartphones and other price scanning applications can affect your operations as a business. All right. Then we come to the bigger one itself, the increased use of the internet. It has an impact on business. Please, can I get opinions as to how the internet is now impacting businesses? In what ways are businesses being impacted with the presence of the internet? Yes, please. You can click on the hand button so that I can see and call you. Yeah, Emma.
Yes, sir. Should anything, as far as marketing is concerned, if you have a product and you want to advertise, you can also do it through the internet. It can even send your products to places that are not even closer to you.
Good.
People also not closer to you can also get to know the location of which the product is being produced.
Mm. So there is
So
a
one way or the
global.
other, the internet becomes beneficial to the institution as a whole.
Okay. So there is a global reach or market expansion, right? Whatever that you are
Yes,
selling, you can be in Ghana and still be dealing with people all over the world. You can have customers in India, in China, wherever. All right. And that really
yes, sir.
is good for businesses. Okay.
Yes,
And
sir.
it comes with the e-commerce and the online sales that you can do. The other advantage is what Iman spoke about, the cost-effective way of marketing and advertising your products. All right. So I recently listened to an interview granted by one musician, and he was talking about how in time past, even when they wanted to promote their music, they needed to be moving from one FM station, seeing one DJ after the other, in order for them to play their songs. Okay. But now you just have to get it out there, either on Facebook or any of those apps that they are able to stream their music. And then if it is a good music, the demand just catch up like that. So you don't necessarily have to even spend any amount of money. and still you can have greater impact than when they needed DJs and FM stations and radio stations to assist them in promoting their music. Okay, so if you are a strategist, you cannot overlook the impact of the technological trend or the technological environment. Okay, then you want to be mindful of the environmental trends or the environment itself. All right. So the environment includes the quality of life, sustainability, and recycling of resources. Depending upon your industry, these points may be more necessary for you. So if you're into, say, mining, anything that has to do with the destruction of the natural environment, you want to pay attention to your impact, about your impact on the environment, okay? Quality of life, sustainability, recycling of resources are things that you want to take very seriously. After the destruction of the earth to take your gold or your diamond or whatever it is, what effort is the company putting in place to be able to restore the environment? Okay, because it has impact on global warming and the pollution that will be caused by plastic packaging and intensive farming. All these things are within the environmental trends that businesses need to be mindful of. Then there is depletion of world resources, especially water. Okay, so I've also watched a documentary. I think it's Egypt and another country that are actually struggling. Is Ethiopia? Some countries where they share one common river, and I think another country is seeking to use it for irrigation or something like that. And it's based on the documentary, it's almost something that could lead to some conflict or war among those nations. Okay, because once it passes through one country before it gets to the other, and once the country in the middle or the origin decides to use the water anyhow, the other countries will be in trouble and can lead to depletion. So if you're in business, you want to be mindful of the environment. Ultimately, all businesses rely on the natural environment for their resources. Okay, even if you're into banking, you need human beings. The human beings have to rely on the environment for their food and water and everything before they can get healthy to come to work. So all types of businesses actually must be mindful of the environmental impact of their operations. Okay. Then you want to be mindful of legal trends as well. So the laws and regulations in the country within which you are operating or the geographical area that you are operating, the standards that you have to follow. Okay, so laws are bigger umbrella and regulations are bigger umbrella of things that you are required to do. Standards could be based on the industry within which or the professional requirement of whatever that you are seeking to do. So for example, in preparation of financial accounts, the international organization, accounting bodies have standards that need to be followed in the preparation of business. Okay, if you're into international business, you want to pay attention to border requirements. What do you have to meet closer to standards, say in order to be able to export from one country to the other, all right? If it is about moving your employees, what are the immigration requirements and so on and so forth? You want to pay attention to this. Then labor regulations. It is important to know the labor laws of the country within which that you are operating, because it can create a lot of confusion for your business if you don't know much about that. Okay. The recent cases, is it Asogli? Is that the name? There is this case where is it the mining company where they are restricting or preventing their employees from joining unions or forming unions. Okay. I think Ghana, our trade union has taken that thing up. Yes. Anybody who is aware of that case? Is it Asogli? there is a renowned chief in the Volta region who is part of that the accusations that he's not actually helping, because it's a Chinese company that is refusing the employees from forming unions. Anybody to help me with the example? Is it Asogli? Hey, guys, or you don't have TVs, you don't watch news.
So I am not aware, sir.
Okay, go look out for it. There is a case. In fact, labor union, trade union initially wanted to declare some strike action on a particular date. And later, the story was that Council of States came to intervene, that they will talk to the management of the company and so on and so forth. All right.
Okay, so then I will check and see.
Yes, it's a recent case that is happening. Okay, because the company is actually refusing the employees from joining labor unions, and that is against the laws of Ghana. So wherever that you find yourself as a strategist or as a company, it is important that we know about the labor laws of that particular country. Okay, so that is that for the PESTEL. The first P, as we've seen, stands for political environment. E stands for the economic, S stands for social, T stands for technological. We have environment, and then the legal trends. These are things that if you're in strategy or if you're operating a business generally, you need to pay attention to, because how they perform can influence how your business performs as well. Okay. So the PESTEL process, what we've just discussed, should be kept as simple as possible, with the bigger picture always kept central. So you need to have like a dashboard or something as a strategist. Always be mindful of what is happening in this environment that we've discussed so far. But it should be kept very simple, knowing exactly what you want. Okay, because in my explanation, for example, I try to indicate that some variables should be far more important in some industries than the others, even though generally every business needs to be mindful of them. All right. When we got to, say, the environmental trends, I was talking about the fact that if you're into mining, deforestation, these types of companies that leads to the extraction of the natural environment need to be more conscious of this. All right. But that doesn't mean if you're in a bank, you shouldn't pay attention to. But the banks probably will be more mindful of, say, the economic environment than the environmental trends or the environmental issues. Okay. So it's very, very, very important to keep it simple. Yes, sir. Yes.
Can you come again about the S in the PESTEL? Because I didn't get it properly.
You didn't hear the S, the social?
Yeah, the social, yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So let's go back there. So the social was about the demographic, social, and lifestyle trends of wherever that you're operating. And I said that there you need to, demographic, for example, is about the age categories. Okay, if your product is for the aged, you'll be paying attention to the population trend. Are people getting much older than previously? If that is the case, then it's possible that you could be getting more market for your product and services. Okay, but if people are, the population side that you have more younger population, that could have a negative impact on your type of business. But at the same time, that same variable can be an opportunity for another company. If they are targeting a younger population or younger group of people, then it will be an opportunity for them. Okay. The social and lifestyle trends. Also, I said you want to be mindful of things like, say, fashion and the eating habits of people generally. Is it the case that people now want to go out or less? They want to do more indoors. That's the social and lifestyle trends of people. When COVID came, one of the industry that was heavily hit was the hospitality industry. All right. Why? Because people were now scared of hotels because you don't know where the COVID will be coming from. Okay. It could be coming from the bed sheets of hotels that you lie on or wherever. Okay. So people, in fact, it got to a time we know about the lockdown. You couldn't even go out again. And when it was even time for people to go out, you are more careful about where you go to eat. Restaurants, hotels, generally the hospitality industry suffered. Okay, what it means is that the lifestyles of people can either serve as a threat or as an opportunity to a business organization. And so you want to be mindful of that particular trend, either to ride on any opportunities that may be available or to protect yourself against any threats that may be coming from that environment. All right. We have issues also like group identity and gender roles. That is where I was talking about the fact that we have this LGBT, not just only that. All right. Generally, it's talking about inclusiveness in organization and paying attention to the rights of different manner of people. And I said the difference between gender and sex is that sex is biological. With sex, we only have male and female, but with gender, we can have all the other things that we can, and sexualities, things like that. You can have the LGBT something that we've been discussing, okay? And for a business or a strategist, you want to pay attention to these guys so that you can get their input or contribution as much as possible in your business organization. In fact, and I said that for some jurisdictions, it is they are protected by law. And so it is not even up to you to discriminate against them. If you do that, they have the right to take the company on, and that can be a major threat for your business organization. Okay. National cultures, I use the issue about India and their way of living, the fact that beef is forbidden, even though they have a lot of cattle there. So if you are into international business and you were to export beef to India, nobody will buy anything from you. Okay. And I was using also taste and preferences. Once again, the Asian continent like more of what did I say? Spices, right? They like their food very hot and so on and so forth. So if you were into food production or selling of food, the kind of taste and preferences that people in Ghana will have are most likely to be different from people in China or India. So you want to pay attention to national cultures and stuff like that. All right. So those were the discussions that we had. And under each, the issues there could either be providing opportunity or they could be serving as a threat to the business. It is up to you to do the analysis of your company and see whether at this point, whatever is happening in the environment, be it the economic environment or the social environment or the technological environment and the other types of external environment provides the business either with opportunities or threats. Okay, so that is that for this external environment. Okay, so any of the factors that we've explained so far, the opportunities and threats are likely to be coming from this environment. And so you need to find out whether at any point in time, whatever is happening is serving my interest or is working against me. Okay, I just used the example of how COVID had a negative impact on the hospitality industry. Okay, but any suggestions as to how COVID was an opportunity for some other businesses? Yes. Which business types of businesses profited from COVID? Are we here? Please click on the hand button.
Yes, sir.
Yes, so I need your contribution. Yes. Click on the hand button if you want to talk so that it will be orderly. Yes. Which businesses profited from COVID? even though it was a major threat to human life and most businesses. Yes, let me see. There is another
businesses that deals with pharmaceuticals and businesses that were into nose masks and this kind of stuff.
Okay. So nose masks, pharmaceuticals, all those health related businesses did very well, yes, because people now were more health conscious, right? If they were asked to take vitamin C once a day, some would take it 3 times a day, and so on and so forth. So people became health conscious. Any type of business that also profited from COVID?
Yeah, Prof.
Yes. Daniel?
Yeah, I think that the telecommunication networks.
The telecommunication networks, how?
You know, when COVID set in, businesses or companies decided to be working at home, and they were using internet connections and other things. So whilst others were losing, they were gaining, because people will have to buy bundles, they have to make calls and other things.
Beautiful.
And I believe that is even the reason we still have these online lectures, because we never know this until COVID sets in.
That's right. That's right. So yes, so that is how we should be viewing all the variables in the external environment. All right. It presents opportunities and threats to, it depends upon your company. For one company, whatever might be happening could be a threat. To another company, it could be an opportunity. So it's important. That is why every company will need a strategist to be able to analyze whether this thing is worth our attention, either as a threat or as an opportunity. Okay. Yes. When exchange rate, when the Ghana cedi deteriorated a lot, okay, most businesses were hit by that. But what type of businesses do you think profited from that deteriorated exchange rate, or when the cedi gets weakened? Which businesses in Ghana, or if you want persons in Ghana, profit from the deterioration of the cedi? Yes, I want your input. If the cedi gets weakened, who are those who profit? Even if it is short term, who are those that will benefit from the deterioration of the cedi? Yes. No opinion. You know, there are businesses in Ghana that engage in exportation, right? It is not the case that, yes, it is not the case that all businesses in Ghana import products. Okay, it is those that will have to import. They have to exchange their cedi for dollars before they can buy things into the economy. So they get hit a lot when the cedi depreciates. Okay, so the reverse is the case for exporters. When they go and sell whatever they want to sell, they get their money in dollars. And when they come, that tends to boost, at least for short term, their profit as far as the cedi is concerned. Okay. So yes, Ima, your hand is up.
So what about the banking sector?
The
banking sector.
Yes, explain. How do they benefit?
Because let's say the cedi deteriorates and they also have a place that you exchange for dollars.
They also have what? They also have what? Yes. You said they also have what? Even where you are, there is noise. There is noise where you are. Where are you?
Hello.
Are you at the station? Are you at some station? There is too much noise where you are. Okay. So, yes, so any type of business that really will be earning foreign currencies, will do very well when the cedi is getting weakened. Okay, so basically my point is for us to note that things that happen in the external environment tend to have different impact on business organizations. These impacts will either be an opportunity.
I am facing network challenge here.
That's fine, Ima. It's okay. Okay. All right. I hope our discussion so far is okay. You guys are following. Okay. So the personal process should be kept as simple as possible, with the bigger picture always kept central. All right. The personal is a useful framework to check and determine strategic priorities, since managers are encouraged to look beyond their organization and industry. Okay, you will not do well as a business if you just pay attention to just your organization and your industry, because a lot of other things can happen out there that can impact the way your business performs. Okay, a good pestle should go deeper enough to consider the root causes behind trends. Things are not always as they appear. So that point is also very, very important. When you're considering the pestle, go deeper. Most times, things that we see on the surface may not necessarily be the case. Okay, so there is a rumor, I don't know whether this is true or not, but with regards to this banking cleanup thing that happened some time back, some have the case against this government once again that it is just political witch hunting. That is why they know if they lift the minimum capital requirement, some banks who they think are in competition with the finance minister will not be able to match up, and therefore the businesses will be collapsed. Okay. On the surface, the government made a good case. Why? To make the banking sector stronger and so on and so forth. But behind the scene, others also have the belief that it's basically because he wants his data bank or the whatever that is associated with to be stronger and more competitive, and therefore all other businesses like that, the local one especially, should get out of the way. All right. So this is just rumor. Of course, these things you'll not get any documents to support them, and so on and so forth. But if you're in business, you want to go beyond what the headlines in the newspaper say. You want to be able to have your own links within government to get to the real motive behind certain decisions and some actions of government or any other thing that is happening in any of the other environments that we'll discuss this morning. Okay. So pestle should let you get deeper and look beyond what is on the surface. Strategy should avoid information overload. So there could be so many things happening, even this morning as we sit, but as a good strategist, you can't be paying attention to everything. I said some of the points or issues may be more relevant to you, and you have to note and find out which ones will be important to your company as much as at any point in time. Okay. The issues that you want to pay attention to should be strategic, not operational, and always relevant to an organization's purpose. So there should not be day-to-day things that you can resolve. Okay, there are things that should be strategic. And I think in lecture 1, we spoke about the characteristics of strategic decisions. We said they tend to have long-term implications. So if you want to think about things in the external environment that should deserve your attention as a strategist, the issue should be strategic and not operational. Operational issues should be solved based on the day-to-day operations of the business. Okay, they shouldn't be the concern of a strategist. There should be concentration on those factors and issues of most relevance to driving change.